Well, Senegal is bracing for possible violence with the court issuing a verdict of 2 years in prison in the rape trial of Ousmane Sonko. The opposition leader considers the charges against him a political ploy and has been calling for mass protests. The guilty verdict ostensibly renders him ineligible to run in next year's presidential race. And we can cross now to our correspondent in Senegal, Sam Bradpiece. So, Sam, just tell us more about this verdict, and has there been any early reaction?
So what happened essentially is that the judge decided to drop the elements of the case regarding rape and sending a death threat to the alleged rape victim. Those charges were effectively dropped, and Ousmane Sonko has been sentenced for 2 years for a crime which, directly translated, you could say is corrupting the youth. In other words, by frequenting this so-called beauty salon, which was really more of a brothel, according to what we heard in court, he was encouraging young women to get involved essentially in the sex trade. So he's been sentenced for that, 2 years in prison. It's still unclear whether the prosecution or Mr. Sonko will appeal this. The prosecution, remember, had been calling for a 10-year prison sentence for Ousmane Sonko for rape. And so from their perspective, they won't be too happy. Also from the perspective of Adjisa, the young employee at this beauty salon, things aren't all rosy. She was crying in the courtroom today when the verdict was read out.
Sonko had been calling for mass protests in advance of this verdict being announced. Did that materialize? And what can we expect now that this ruling has come down?
There have been protests in the week leading up, well, in the weeks really, I should say, leading up to this verdict. Now I think we can expect some degree of unrest in Senegal, particularly the place we're perhaps most concerned about is the area around Ousmane Sonko's Dakar residence. Ousmane Sonko himself never actually came to trial today. He could have come, but was essentially under house arrest. And there's a huge police presence throughout the city of Dakar and in other parts of the country as well. It's unclear at this stage whether that police presence will be enough to dissuade people from taking to the streets. As I've mentioned already on France 24, many of Ousmane Sonko's supporters don't see this trial itself and don't see the judicial system as a legitimate one or an independent one, a fair one. So they will not be happy with today's verdict, and we can expect some unrest in the streets.
Okay, our correspondent in Senegal, Sam Bradpiece. Sam, thanks for bringing us that late breaking news.